Japan, the land of the rising sun and vending machines. Japan, it's that place. You know the one. It gave us sushi, which is now sold in gas stations. It gave us anime with impossibly large eyes and impossibly large swords. It took video games and made them an art form, a reason you stayed up way too late on a school night. Those sleek bullet trains that are never, ever late. Karaoke machines that let you live out your rockstar dreams. Japan's fingerprints are all over the modern world. A cultural powerhouse, an economic titan. A place where you can buy hot coffee in a can from a machine on the street. It's a wild ride. But how did we get here? How did this chain of islands in the Pacific go from ancient pottery makers to the futuristic society we see today? Let's go way back, like way, way back. Before there were samurai, before there was even a name for the country, there were people living on the Japanese islands. These were the Jomon people. They made some of the world's first pottery. We're talking about 10,000 BC, hunter-gatherers, for thousands of years, chilling, hunting, making pottery. They were the original hipsters of the archipelago. Then around 300 BC, everything changed. The Yayoi arrived from the mainland. They brought wet field rice, game changer, growing lots of food in one place. More food meant more people. People settled down, villages grew, society got more complex. They brought metalworking, bronze bells, iron tools. This agricultural revolution set the stage for everything to come. More people meant more problems, and more leaders to solve them. Soon the land was divided into a bunch of little countries, clans, and they started to fight. One clan, the Yamato, got really good at power, fighting or making friends. By the 4th century AD, they became the top dogs and called themselves emperors. They claimed descent from the sun goddess Amaterasu. Hard to argue with that family tree. That imperial line technically continues to today. They went shopping in China for writing, Buddhism, government ideas. They built Nara after the Chinese model but made it their own. So the emperor is in charge, living in a fancy capital, first Nara then Heian-kyo, now Kyoto. Life at court, 794–1185, was all about elegance, poetry, silk robes, complex games. The tale of Genji was written by a court lady. Cultural golden age. But while nobles perfected aesthetics, they kind of forgot running the country. Enter the samurai, hired muscle for aristocrats. They collected taxes, fought bandits, enforced order. Soon, warrior clans got powerful and organized. They lived by Bushido. Honor, loyalty, martial skill, really, really good with swords. The Genpei War, 1180–1185, Taira versus Minamoto, tore Japan apart. Minamoto won. Minamoto no Yoritomo emerged as leader. In 1192, the emperor granted him the title Sei Tai Shogun, the shogun. He set up a bakufu, military government in Kamakura, the start of feudal Japan. For the next 700 years, shoguns ruled. Emperors remained symbolic. The emperor, religious leader. The shogun, the boss with the army. A military-led system defined Japan for centuries. The age of the elegant courtier was over. The age of the sword had begun, and it was going to be a wild ride. Next, isolation, art, and a surprise visit. After the first shogunate, things got a little messy. A lot more civil wars. Total chaos during the Sengoku period. Daimyo built huge castles and fought for control. Then 3 leaders reunited Japan: Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, Tokugawa Ieyasu. Sekigahara, 1600, decided it. Japan unified. In 1603, Ieyasu became shogun and founded the Tokugawa shogunate. He moved the capital to Edo, later Tokyo. They created a strict order: samurai, farmers, artisans, merchants. Sankin Kotai forced daimyo to spend alternate years in Edo, hostages at home. The shoguns feared outside influence, especially European traders and missionaries. Most foreigners expelled. Japanese banned from leaving. Sakoku, the closed country. Exception, a tiny Dutch post on Dejima in Nagasaki. That long peace changed everything. Edo period culture blossomed. Ukiyo-e prints, kabuki theater, haiku. Cities grew. Urban culture boomed. A stable, creative bubble. But bubbles pop. And then, the black ships arrived. Next, a surprise visit that changed everything. For over 2 centuries, Japan minded its own business. Then, in 1853, Commodore Matthew Perry showed up. He didn't come in a rowboat. He brought black steam-powered warships, the Black Ships. The Japanese had never seen anything like them. Perry had a letter: "Open your ports to trade, or I'll be back with more ships." The arrival threw Japan into chaos. The shogunate didn't know what to do. In 1868, powerful samurai overthrew the shogun and restored the emperor. The young Emperor Meiji took charge, the Meiji Restoration. Not just government change, a revolution. Rich country, strong army. They abolished the feudal system and the samurai class. They created modern Western-style armed forces, wrote a constitution and established the Diet, a modern state. Sent students worldwide to learn technology, institutions, industry, railways, telegraph lines, factories, universities. A breathtaking makeover. People wore Western clothes, ate beef, read newspapers. In decades, Japan became a modern industrial nation. They began building an empire, defeating China in 1895, then defeating Russia in 1905. Japan had arrived on the world stage. The quiet Edo bubble was history. Japan modernized and expanded rapidly. Next, the roller coaster of war and wonder. The first half of the 20th century was intense for Japan. Having modernized, Japan grew more militaristic. Military leaders controlled policy. The invasion of Manchuria in 1931. Full-scale war with China from 1937. Eventually joining the Axis with Germany and Italy. Pearl Harbor, December 7, 1941. It set Japan on a path to total conflict across the Pacific. Extreme nationalism and military expansion ended in disaster. Cities were firebombed, the Navy destroyed, people starving. In August 1945, the U.S. dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Days later, Japan surrendered unconditionally. The country lay in ruins, the lowest point in modern Japanese history. The emperor announced he was human, no longer a living god. The American occupation began under General MacArthur. From the ashes, with American aid and hard work, Japan rebuilt. A new constitution renounced war. Japan focused on rebuilding. They focused on manufacturing and technology. Companies like Sony, Toyota, Honda emerged. In the 1950s-60s, the economy grew at dizzying speed, the Japanese economic miracle. By the 80s, made in Japan meant quality and cutting-edge tech. Post-war also brought a cultural renaissance. Filmmakers, writers, artists. Manga and anime grew from domestic pastimes to global phenomena. Video games, pioneered by Nintendo and Sega, conquered the world. Japan transformed from military power to economic then cultural superpower. Next, robots, ramen, and square watermelons. And that brings us to today. Present-day Japan, super old and super new. Stand in a 1,000-year-old temple 1 minute, on a bullet train the next. A city ripped from a sci-fi novel. Ancient traditions like tea ceremony and ikebana coexist with robot cafes. Robot cafes serving lattes next to centuries-old shrines. The cultural influence that started in the late 20th century has only grown. Manga and anime created a global fandom. Japanese food from omakase sushi to humble ramen is beloved worldwide. Kawaii culture influences fashion and design globally, and video games remain a Japanese cultural powerhouse. Modern Japan faces big challenges: an aging population. A shrinking workforce creates social and economic questions. How to care for more elderly with fewer workers. Robotics may help. Japan continues to negotiate its place in a complex world. From rice farming to black ships to robotics, Japan adapts and reinvents. Japan is known for efficiency, precision, and innovation. They have heated toilet seats, vending machines for almost everything, and trains that are almost never late. They even grow square watermelons, not GMO, just shaped to stack in the fridge. Why? To fit nicely in your fridge, and because frankly, why not? A country practical, sometimes bizarre, and utterly brilliant. So what will Japan invent next? Thank you for watching The History of Things. Subscribe for more rapid-fire history.